adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm very excited about some new music that we're going to talk about here in a second. So I'd like to welcome to the show the band Ancient Thrones. How are you?
Hey, we're doing great, man. How are you?
Doing great. I was checking out your new concept album, and it's pretty badass, but I do love the whole story behind it. So maybe we could start there. Let's talk about the whole story about this new album.
Yeah. Well, the story is sort of about a person that's colorblind and is taking psychedelic mushrooms as a sort of a last-ditch effort to see color. And that's inspired by, you know, my own personal experience with psychedelics and sort of like the good and the bad of that, and the dangers, you know, to say the least, I guess, about experimenting with stuff like that. But yeah, in the story, you know, there's a lot of different commentaries on like self-medication, mental health is a big one for sure. And yeah, you know, it doesn't really go as well for our character. And that was sort of intentional. Our last record, we left on like sort of a hopeful note of acceptance. But because we wrote this record during the 2020 pandemic, it didn't really feel like there was a whole lot of hope left to talk about. And we just wanted to write some really brutal death metal that just hit those cinematic notes, but really left the listener, you know, devastated.
As COVID was.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, but one thing I do, and tell me how you feel about this, but I feel if you were to take one positive out of COVID, is it allowed artists like you to like kind of jump off the hamster wheel and kind of be more creative because you had more time on your hands to be creative and didn't have to worry about deadlines or anything. And I think it just, some of the best music probably started coming out from the COVID pandemic. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, and I think for us, it played well into extreme music because there's a lot of aggressiveness. There's a lot of heavy emotions tied to the music that we play. And, you know, that was significant in what was happening in the world at that time, for sure. We did have a lot of time on our hands, and it was more time for us to perfect and hone in on the music that we're trying to make, playing it better each and every time that we make an album.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking, because sometimes, you know, as artists, you don't really finish the album. You finish it because you're on a deadline, but it's really not finished yet. So I always felt that that's what that allowed, is for artists to really, like you said, perfect it.
Yeah, and it's also just like it allowed us time to level up our playing to be even more fast and more extreme on this record.
And you definitely accomplished that goal for sure.
Thank you.
And now going back to the hallucinogenic part, what's interesting to me there is I love the message you're trying to send, because I think it's become so popular nowadays that people don't think there's any dangers in it or bad things that can happen. Even like with the whole ayahuasca thing, you know, if you have the wrong person leading you in one of those ceremonies and you go into what they call the void, you can maybe never come back. And I don't think people realize that.
Well, that's the thing that we really touched on this record. And this record was inspired by, you know, a lot of films that are sort of deal with like psychedelic trips. Enter the Void by Gaspar Noé, about a man that's, you know, essentially seeing his life after death and floating around in a very, very psychedelic influenced film. And it is scary, you know what I mean? Like there's a door that you open that you can't close. And I think it's a lot about, you know, trying to find the pieces of yourself. Like if I just have this one thing, I'll feel better. If I just have a home, I'll feel better. If I just have a wife or a lover, I'll feel better. You know what I mean? And it's really about making yourself feel better and being comfortable with yourself, is, you know, one of the messages I would say I was trying to sort of warn against the listener.
And I love that message because I'm also a motivational speaker, so I'm a big believer in that. You know, like you have to be comfortable in your own skin, and otherwise we're looking for outside forces to make us comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I'm not trying to say that I'm an anti-drug person or I, you know, I have an issue with anybody doing that stuff. There's lots of people that have gotten lots of positive things out of psychedelic drugs, and you know, it's this is just about my experience, and that's all I can really write about.
Absolutely. And the fact is yeah, for some people there are some benefits, but like I was saying before, you know, you really have to, you can't just do it. You have to know what you're doing, or, you know, be in the right mind space too. Like,
yeah. And it's also, you can't underestimate them. And I think I did underestimate them at one point in my life for sure.
I think a lot of people have. You're not alone. I just recently I was doing a music festival, and some dude took a whole bunch of mushrooms. Next thing you knew, he was on the ground, and we weren't even sure if he was alive or dead for a moment there.
Yeah, it is. You know, it does things to the brain that we can't really explain, and yeah, you know, it is. But you know, one thing that positive that came from my experiences was I was able to write this record that I'm very proud of, and we're all very proud of. Matt can also speak to that as well.
Yeah, and you know, this was a big level up for us in terms of musicianship and just overall tightening of the concept and what we wanted to get across.
I think musicianship is very important because, you know, there's a lot of extreme metal bands, extreme music bands, and I think there's a big difference between just playing extreme music and playing it with musicianship.
I think that's I think that's one of the things that excites us about new music as well. It's got to have some kind of something that makes it unique or feels special or is emotionally connective, and that's, you know, that's the art that I want to create.
I love that you said that too, because as somebody that's been into metal since way back, you know, and seeing the beginning of extreme metal and seeing extreme metal now, I find that there's a lot of bands out there that don't have that uniqueness because they're using some kind of formula. And then you take a band like yours that is using musicianship to make your sound that sets you apart from the rest. And
well, for us, it's also an amalgamation of all the things that we grew up with, right. Getting into extreme metal. We were trying to pay homage to bands like the Black Dahlia Murder, the Red Chord, the Faceless, the early 2000s to 2010 sort of sound that death metal was in. That's what we grew up learning to play and learning to imitate in a sense.
Yeah. And that goes right back to what I was saying, because bands like you just mentioned, you can hear them and you know which band is which for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what else can our listeners get out of this album? Like, tell us about the concept from beginning to end of this 42-minute album of what will keep people listening to the whole album today in a day where people are in such a track mentality.
For sure. You know, there is a lot of cinematic intention that we put into the record. Our main songwriter, Dylan, is a machine of writing, scores for cinema, and also his own instrumental band, that he paints these images in the listener's ear that I then try to take and sort of mold a narrative around. And then we sort of work together to say, okay, I'm thinking, the character's going to do this. So how can we make that come out without any visuals? We're only writing music here.
Right.
And in terms of the concept from start to end, it sort of starts where we throw, I'll spill all the beans. We throw you right dab in the middle at the very climax. That's the first of the song. It's the climax of the story where the character has made the choice, fed the void, as I called it, and is doing some damage to themselves in a not so nice way. We jump right in head first. Opening track is absolutely brutal, and then we strip it back. We start to go back. It starts to sort of flash back into this instrumental track, and we take the listener back into what the life of the person was that we just described. And then they make the decision to do the psychedelics, and then the trip starts to unfold, and that's when a turning point, track 3 starts. And then they're journeying on through this sort of magical place where they find this structure that they feel like they can be safe in. So they go into this glass, sort of jagged, sharp place in a pellucid prism, which is track 4. And then they start to explore it in Sacred Swollen Glass. That's track 5 or 6. I can't remember. And then... things start the gray starts to come back in their eyes. The achromatopsia starts to take over again, and they realize that I've had all of these things and it's still not enough. And then the palace starts to crumble. I don't know. Have you seen the album cover? We have this really jagged, beautiful, sharp-looking palace that we describe in the song "A Pale Palace." And that's sort of like this person's last moments and sort of the aftermath of what happens in the opening track. And then it all, kind of, as the palace is crumbling and the sands of time are sort of swallowing this person, we ended in this really doomy song that Nick Leslie wrote called Vacant. And that's Melancholia.
I love it. And yes, I did check out the album cover. Actually, I had it as the background here when I came in. And it is pretty cool. And as somebody that can see certain things in the album cover that maybe others that have not had these experiences.
Yeah.
Like I can visualize what's going on there.
Yeah.
I can see things like great art. I can see a lot of things in the album cover that if you just look at it long enough, it appears.
For sure. There's a lot of symbolism. We worked really hard with our artist, Carter Duty, in New Brunswick, Canada. And, we gave him the lyrics. I gave him things I definitely wanted into the record. And, with any artist that we commission or even work with, we hire them for a reason because we trust their vision. So I don't want to take credit for what Carter did on that album cover. It's totally his interpretation of my words, and we're really, really happy with it. And like one thing I want to note about that too, with the psychedelic story, I made sure to tell Carter I want all of these colors that are on this record to be like so strange, like so foreign to the eye. Like they almost look familiar, but they aren't.
Right.
The structure's almost familiar, could almost exist, but it definitely doesn't. Yeah.
I love it. So tell everybody how they can reach out to you on socials, on the web, how they can get the new album, and anything else you want to let them know.
Do you want to take that one, Matt?
Yeah, sure. So, we're on Facebook and Instagram at Ancient Thrones. We got Bandcamp, Ancient Throne, bandcamp.com/Ancient Thrones. People can buy vinyl there or buy music there. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube, Tidal, Deezer, all those ones. If you're into streaming, you can just look us up there. I think that's about it. I don't know if I forgot any.
And also check out the music video for Melancholia streaming on Slam Worldwide YouTube channel.
All right, cool. Is there anything else either of you want to add to this that we haven't covered already?
I think I've said everything I could ever say. I'm very proud of this record. I hope that the listeners enjoy it. I hope that they immerse themselves in it, and just know that it's going to be okay. You can listen to this extreme music and get swallowed by these tales of sorrow, and open your eyes and see the world, and it's a beautiful place.
That was the best way to end it right there, because it's true, and music is the best therapy, and you guys gave us some badass music with this.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you guys for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
It was our pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.